All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Growing Your Agency. Today, here with Cason Carter from Broughton Partners. Cason, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here, brother.
Hey, super excited to have you on. So I know you're running a pretty massive operation over there. Tell us a little bit about Broughton Partners and what you guys do.
Yeah, so Broughton Partners, we do marketing and advertising and intake for law firms, specifically mass tort law firms. So you see the commercials on television, Roundup. If you have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and you use Roundup, you may be entitled to compensation. So we're in the mass tort space. We originally started off as just a marketing company. And in the very beginning, we were just trying to send leads to law firms. And I was working, moonlighting this project. And then I had a software company that I was really involved with that worked with personal injury law firms. And the whole idea behind this company was, had a buddy that was running a law firm and he knew how to market. And then I was working with law firms selling them case management software. And so it's kind of like a match made in heaven. You know, we were going to come together. I was going to use my customer base. He was going to use his marketing expertise, and we were going to take over that way. And of course, everything takes 10x what you think it's going to take, right? You always think you're getting to something, you're like, yeah, this will be easy. And it was a colossal downtime, but we started getting revenue in the door. And I was living in Atlanta, he was living in Savannah. And at the point in time where we started sending leads to people, and we were sending good quality leads because we had phone tracking software on it and we could hear recordings, and people were just dropping the ball. And at the end of the day, we realized that we're never going to be successful until we're actually taking the calls in-house. And so right then I moved to Savannah. We went all in on this project. We started a call center, had marketing in-house, had everything soup to nuts in-house. So our big thing is, you never know how good a lead is until you can track that lead directly back to the source. You spend, 50% of your marketing dollars are wasted, probably more, to be honest with you, in most companies. And so until you can get that complete feedback loop going where you say, this keyword drove this case, or, this commercial drove this case, it's really pointless to do a ton of marketing, because at the end of the day, which piece of your marketing dollars are wasted, right?
Totally.
And I think that's when we had the big shift in attitude. We went all in on building this infrastructure, and it was a lot more money than we expected. And of course, it's 10x money that you expect to. And we went so hard in on that infrastructure, though, and just hoping that it paid off. And when we finally got that infrastructure in place completely, and we're still working on it, between analytics and everything and getting that feedback loop perfect. But that's when everything really started to shift for us, because we understood what was driving good quality cases. And so we're not just an agency in the sense that spend money with us and we drive marketing and leads to your company. Spend money with us, we go out and deliver a signed retainer for you. So as a law firm, 3 or 4 person law firm that doesn't have the ability to take calls 24/7, or doesn't have the ability to have a full-blown marketing team, they don't have to worry about that. I'm going to spend $100,000. The agency is going to take 20%, 15%, whatever it is, and I'm going to get leads, and then it's my job to convert them. And so we really deliver that full package so that they don't have to worry about that, and they don't get a case until it is 100% a case, meets their criteria, and also they only pay per case. So if we lose money on the marketing, they don't necessarily care, because at the end of the day, we agreed to this price per case and we deliver that.
So that's really interesting. So you guys are essentially taking the risk on the ad spend and on everything, knowing that you're able to deliver a signed deal to the client, and then they're only paying for that signed deal. So there's no downside for the clients.
For the client, there's no downside. And for us, there's a ton of downside. And we met that downside in the beginning, right? Until you get that right. And I think that's why it's so hard to crack into the signed case thing, because you're taking all the risk on. And there was a lot of missteps we made along the way, and we still make a ton of missteps and learning from it every day. But at least those missteps, we could see and control what was going on. And so we just, quickly learn from it and keep on moving. But the huge benefit to our clients is we take all the risk.
Yes, that's massive. I talk to so many marketing agencies, people doing lead gen that, kind of stop at, hey, the lead was delivered to you, now it's in your hands. And then there's like often, a dispute between just like you were saying, was the lead good? It wasn't good. I couldn't reach them. It wasn't qualified, that sort of thing. So you're taking all of that out of it, which is really interesting.
And
I
the
want to
hardest
shift.
part, and the
Yeah.
hardest part about lead gen is converting the leads. I mean, I'll be
Mhm.
completely honest, that is by far the hardest part. Because you got to be ready 24/7. You have to know when the leads are coming in. You have to know which leads to prioritize. So running the actual um, the phones, the intake center, all that is by far the hardest part. And if you're not tracking that, you're losing money left and right. And I know that's where you guys come in. And if people aren't doing that, they're making a massive, massive mistake.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. So how do you train your staff when the leads are coming in? What kind of I guess, special training do they need to know about, like, the space or about the cases that, the clients are calling in about, the clients, I guess, are calling in about?
Yeah, so I mean, we do our intake training program is 2 weeks long, and we make sure they understand everything from start to finish because we're not just dealing with one single type of lead. We have different cases that we're working on. And a lot of times law firms come to us and they'll say, I want to work on this case. So we go massive undertaking to all the call center to make sure that everybody's trained on that case. But that process is one of the hardest processes to get down because, the person answering the phone is really the biggest piece of all of this, making sure they know what they're doing and they know how to take that call. Until you get to that point, it's really tough.
Yeah, talk to us about, attribution. So, these calls come in for particular cases, and then, you're answering them, and then ultimately once you convert them, you're sending them to a client. How do you attribute, the calls and the cases back to ad spend? What kind of tools are you using? What kind of systems do you have in place for that?
There's a lot of our software stack is so big it's insane, but you have to have
So Salesforce is your core CRM that you're using.
it's our core hub, and everything kind of is based off of that. And but the at the end of the day, the call tracking software is probably the most important piece, so you can see where exactly each call is coming in from.
So are most of the leads coming in from calls, or do some people submit forms and then you guys are calling them back yourselves? How does that work?
Yeah, so we're about 60% web forms and 40% phone calls. That's taken a drastic turn over the last 3 years. When we first started, it was 80%, and it just shows where everyone's headed as far as where the market's headed as far as more automation, less interaction, that type of thing. And so we're starting to see that shift. And I think that over the next 3 or 4 years, you'll probably see it be 80% web forms, 20% calls.
Yeah, totally. What kind of talk to us about some of the automations are you using? Are you using some, like, texting drips, or, like, I know back in the day, me and you kind of worked together, and you actually got me introduced to Active Campaign, which I think is really interesting. What kind of automations and kind of tool sets do you use?
Yeah, I mean, emails, texting, voicemail drops so your agent's going to get off the phone quicker and move on to the next call. As soon as a lead comes in, letting them know that you're going to take care of them is always important through text and email,
Hmm.
and getting to them right away. And so all that automation has to work together, and figuring out that cadence of what works for what
Yep.
is so important. And on one case type for us, it's not, we have different drips for every single case type because there's some litigations we work on where people really respond well to um, text and email, and there's some litigations that they don't. You really have to be able to pivot and understand that.
Yep. Got it. Talk to us about customer acquisition. I know you guys have a pretty big. Actually, tell us a little bit about the size of the company, just in terms of, like, headcount. I know you guys are pretty big compared to a lot of the agencies that we're working with and we talk to. So tell us a little bit about team size, if you can share, and kind of the breakdown of who's doing what in the company.
Yeah, so we have, I think we have around 110 right now people. I think around
Wow.
65 to 68 of those are call center, right? And so we're kind of unique because we built this all-in-one thing where we're taking the calls, and we're also selling to law firms. So we're B2B and B2C. So we have an outside sales team that goes in, brings in the law firms. And then we have an inside sales team that closes the claimants to help send to the law firms. And so, sales brings it in, sales brings in the deal, then marketing starts for that particular law firm. Start doing the marketing, leads go to the call center closes, we call quality assurance and send them back to the law firm in one nice package with kind of, a nice book, if you will, for the law firm to receive and know that client's in good hands.
Awesome. Talk to me about pricing. I know that you said it's based on the closed case. Is it a percentage of the deal? Is it a flat fee based on the cases? How does that work?
So we do it a flat fee based on the case, right? And so we're selling qualified retainers, qualified plaintiffs to these people. And so once they meet that qualification, we can sell them. And so our pricing is always up and down based off of the demand in the market for that particular litigation. But we have to be really on top of it in order to make sure that we're not putting ourselves out there for too big a deal. And then the price is going to go really wayward on us throughout that campaign. So, that is a very, very tough piece that you have to overcome.
Yeah, I know that. Look, I don't have a ton of knowledge about it, but I do know that personal injury law, tort law is some of the highest costing keywords and clicks that there are in all of Google. So I know that just for the click, so to get from the click to the actual conversion of the lead and then to the case, you're probably looking at a pretty penny for these converted cases. How do you predict it? Like let's say a new case is, how are you able to see, hey, historically we've been converting at this rate? I would imagine there's a lot of data analytics that goes into pricing.
Yeah, it's all data analytics that you're looking at. You're looking at, what everything's trending. It's trending up at this percentage. And so we need to be here in order to make sure that we don't lose on this campaign. And, there's been a lot of campaigns that we've lost on, to be completely honest with you. And that's, kind of how you learn and how you build out your analytics to be sharper and predict a little better and things like that. And so, we have a formula that we run everything through to determine where we need to be at based off of, the upward trend, the downward trend. All of those things take a play into it. And, we kind of just tweak this formula over time. And it's taken a long time to get right. That's been the hardest piece to get right because, there's still campaigns that we lose on, but it's much less now than it was in the beginning. And I think that's one of the hardest pills to swallow is getting to the end of the campaign and saying, holy shit, we're upside down on that.
Yeah.
And so, that's one of the biggest factors that you have to overcome in what we're doing.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the affiliate space, actually. And the interesting piece is that you guys own the customer, and it sounds like you're doing all of the ad buying yourself. Whereas typically in the affiliate space, the front-facing publisher is so far away from the end ad buyer, right? They're usually selling to affiliate networks, and then there's a couple other middlemen, and then they finally sell it to the end user. But it sounds like you're essentially doing it all from the beginning all the way to owning the customer. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And, knock out a couple percentages along the way and things like that, which really helps us be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
But, we're never going to be the lowest priced person in the industry because we're actually selling a finished product or a client that's ready to talk to a lawyer. Whereas when you're working on leads and affiliates and things like that, you don't know how much you got to dig through. And so, we're trying to bring a soup to nuts, ready to go retainer to our clients. And that's really important to us that they understand what kind of quality we're trying to drive.
What kind of education is involved in, I would assume without price that it's a pretty easy sale to get a lawyer to come on board for, hey, I'm only going to deliver you a signed client, right? And then I guess price comes into play. So what kind of education do you have to do, to the clients with the lawyers to show them that, hey, this price is worth the return on investment?
Yeah, a lot of it comes into play with them understanding the drop off. And it took us a long time to overcome, we didn't have enough references and things like that. But once you build up that reference book and people understand that, if you're going to have a fall off of 50% with an affiliate marketer, but you have fall off with 10% with us, right? You're never going to be able to control fall out completely. But, if you get 10% with us, then you're okay to spend, 60% more, 40% more, whatever that is. And so that sell is really tough. But when they understand the quality, that's where you really have to break down the quality and what it means with the follow on.
Yeah, totally. All right, coming up on time here. Couple final questions. What's one thing now that you're running, 110 person company, 68 call center reps, driving closed cases essentially to legal firms? What's something now after running the business for a few years that you wish you knew when you were first getting started?
I think the biggest thing is you got to be in the people business no matter what you're doing, and making sure that you have a happy team is really one of the most important things at the end of the day. There's nothing that replaces culture in a business. And so losing that culture can be a slippery slope, and you really have to work hard on that. And so, I tell people all the time that I'm not the chief executive officer, I'm the chief energy officer, because my job every day is to make sure that energy is right, that everybody's working together in cohesion, and really, playing middleman between a lot of people a lot of times. And so this old school mentality of I pay people and they'll show up and do their job, and I don't know why I can't get this person to do the same job or put the same effort in, because they don't have a piece of the business, dumbass. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they're not getting rewarded with the upside of the business. And you have to understand who you're playing to, and you have to get to know them. You have to understand their wants, desires, and all those things. And so every business nowadays is the people business, because the millennials will take $2-3 less an hour to work someplace they're happy. And that's just the day and age we're in. And so this idea of I pay people an honest wage, I need them to show up for honest work. Yes, there is some truth to you being honest with your employees and them being honest with you and them working hard, but you get that through culture. You don't get that through a paycheck.
Love it. Final question. We ask all of our guests this. What is your morning routine?
So it's not as good as what I'd like it to be, but I'm typically up at 6:30, and I try to, a perfect morning for me, and I'm always tweaking this to get better. I'm not perfect, but a perfect morning would wake up, grab a shake and and read a chapter of a book or something, then hop in the shower and get to work. As busy as we've been lately and whatnot, I've been skipping all of that and just straight shower, straight to work. I try to listen to a podcast or a book on the way to the office. And when I get here, I try to get everything lined out from the day, from a meeting wise or schedule wise, and have my agenda set and have my brain clear of all the to-do bullshit tasks. And that's a mixture of finishing it from, 11 to midnight to 1 in the morning, and then knocking out the plan for the day a little bit the next day. If you don't get that 11 to 1 and you got a dinner meeting or something like that, then you better get to the office extra early. But my mindset is, by the time 9 o'clock hits and meetings start happening, because I'm in so many meetings throughout the day, I have to be clear-headed, level-headed, and know my plan for each meeting, because meetings can be such a waste of time for people. And if you're going into it where you got 1,000 different things going on and you're not giving it full attention, you might as well not even have it. So I truly try to make sure by 9 o'clock when our meetings start, and we don't have meetings before 9 o'clock, everybody kind of gets in and gets their day set. When 9 o'clock when our meetings start, I try to make sure there's nothing that's going to get in my way throughout the day, except for little fires that come up here and there. But nothing that I walked into the day with should be affecting my day.
Love it. You're just executing against the calendar. Awesome.
Yeah, yes,
awesome. That's great. Cason, Carter, where can everyone find you?
Broughton Partners, Cason at getcases.com. That's GETCASES.com. And yeah, anybody hit me up on an email or whatever, I'll make sure to get back to you for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. It's another episode of Growing Your Agency. Cason, Carter, Broughton Partners. Cason, thank you so much for joining us. All right.
Thanks, my man. Appreciate it. Good time.
Yep. See ya.